Hello and welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope that you all are well and you're having a nice time. So I'm back with another video, and in this one I'll run you through the AI team selection of FPL Game Week 1. We're going to be using the AI from Drafthound. So I'm going to be using this one feature, and obviously you can see my mouse on it. I'm going to click this and see what kind of a team it suggests. And obviously it's going to be using its own algorithms and stuff. And obviously I'm going to rate it out of 10, and we're going to talk about each pick like I usually do of my team too. So we're going to talk about that. Then obviously there is the player comparison thing. We're going to test out this feature, and I'm going to talk about the players that you have suggested me to compare. And then obviously at the end there is the part where we're going to look at some of the 5 million and 5.5 million midfielders that you guys asked me on Twitter. I'm going to give a shout out to everyone who sent me their questions, and obviously we're going to talk about all that in this video. Meanwhile, if you have not subscribed to the channel already, please do that and help me reach 800 subs sooner. That is obviously the goal before the start of the season. And now obviously I'm going to talk about Drafthound, so you can click the referral link below. Once you tap on that, you are going to be redirected to their platform, where you can obviously sign up and get all these premium features like player rankings, fixture analysis, player comparison, predicted lineup. There are some free features too available, so if you want to avail that, you can avail that. And once you sign up for the premium ones, you're going to get a lot of insights. You're going to get a lot more options to manage your team throughout the season. Obviously you can get this planner and the expected points, XG, XA, all of that. So yeah, let's just start with the team building, and let's see what kind of a team the AI, obviously the algorithms at Drafthound suggests us, and then we're going to talk about the team. So yeah, let's go. Just clicking the auto pick feature now, and let's see what it has got for us. So in goal we've got Flecken. I think it is an alright pick, and to be honest, a lot of managers have gone for Flecken, and that is one. Obviously with Raya leaving Brentford for Spurs probably, so that is one reason why a lot of managers have gone for Flecken. And obviously we've seen Brentford keeping clean sheets in the previous season, and Raya used to make a lot of saves. So I think that 4.5 million and the set of fixtures, the managers are hoping the same from Flecken too. And I think obviously the algorithm at the back suggests the AI the same thing. So Flecken at 4.5 million is in goal, and Foster a 4 million keeper on the bench. So out of 5, if I were to rate these keepers, I would rate them around 2.5. These are obviously all right options, but it could have gone for some better options too. But I think, yeah, at 2.5 out of 5 is what I'll, rate it. So the keepers department is all right. Not too good, it's all right. So now looking at the defenders, we've got Stones at 5.5 million. So that is a solid pick. The good set of fixtures, and we're expecting Stones to start. He is the kind of player that can give you goals. And obviously the clean sheets are usually what is expected from Man City defenders. Then obviously we've got Estupinan at 5 million. Another solid pick. He is in for, in the list of the most owned defenders. A lot of managers already own him, and obviously not owning him will hurt your points, the EO stuff and all of that. So at 5 million, I think that he is a solid pick. Then obviously we've got Gabriel at 5 million, another of the pick that is popular among most of the managers. Arsenal are expected to keep clean sheets, and the set of fixtures suggests that we might see clean sheets from Arsenal during the start of the season, and that would obviously be helpful for most of the managers to get those points. Walker is some kind of pick that I'd say it is 50-50 kind of move. Personally, I wouldn't have gone for Walker. There are other options too, like at 4.5 million or at 4 million too, but at 4.5 million you could get Mings or Tarkowski, someone like that. But obviously it is AI, and this is what it has suggested through algorithms. I think it has doubled up on Man City's defense as of now, and the reason is pretty visible, and that is the clean sheets that we can expect from the set of fixtures that Man City has. So I'd make a change here, and what I'd do is, just looking at it, I'll take out Walker and place Mbeumo inside. I think this Mbeumo pick could be much better one than playing Walker. And then obviously if obviously you are using this planner, what you could do is downgrade Walker to someone like Mings or Tarkowski. But as of now, we're just judging the algorithms and the team that has been presented to us by the Drafthounds auto pick feature. And now obviously looking at the midfielders, I have Mbeumo that I just brought in at 6.5 million. He is another popular pick among most of the FPL managers with Tony banned. I think Mbeumo would be the guy if you were to look at strikers, if you were to look at some forward from Brentford. Obviously, he's listed as a midfielder here, but he's going to be playing that striker role that he used to play with Tony too. So I think I'm expecting him to be on the penalties too, but he was pretty good with the shots. I mean, at one season we saw that his shots didn't go in, but after that I think he was pretty clinical in the last one, and during the end of the season he did return some of the managers some points. And then obviously we've got Salah, another essential 12.5 million. I think the set of fixtures pretty interesting. And obviously Salah used to be the guy who was a sort of player that you couldn't go without. But the last season and this one, the price that he's being offered at, I think, to be honest, this is kind of a decision where obviously the FPL managers would have to decide either to invest this much in Salah or take that out and invest it in bids and different managers. But obviously this is what we've got. Salah at 12.5 million. I think this is a solid pick. Saka is another solid pick. He's on the penalties. I wouldn't suggest going in without Saka if you are to get that rank boost during the start of the season. And then obviously Mitoma and Gross is pretty interesting. I personally had Mitoma and Ciso, but Gross is another interesting pick. He is on some of the set pieces, and I think remember that there will be rotations, so I think a doubling up on Brighton's midfielder would be of this advantage that if one is not playing, hopefully the other one is. I cannot 100% guarantee that both of them would be starters, and both obviously there might be one day where one of them would be benched, and there might be another day where both of them would be benched. But as of now, I think this is pretty safe option if you double up on Brighton midfielders. I've personally done that. And the reason is good set of fixtures and Brighton looking pretty sharp with their scoring form in the pre-seasons too. And now looking at the forwards, I'd rate that midfield line. You can see the 5 midfielders on screen, and it is now a 4-5-1. And I'd rate that midfield, if I were to rate that out of 5, it would be a solid 4 for me. I would have added Rashford here somehow, but as of now, I think I would rate it a solid 4 out of 5. Rashford missing. If Rashford was in there, I would rate it 5 out of 5. So now looking at the forward, the auto pick feature has gone with Haaland as the main man. Obviously the most owned asset. Captaincy armband is with him, and Haaland has some good set of fixtures, and he is the only forward as you can see on the pitch. There is Visa on the bench, and then Adebayo, 2 other bench options. Jesus is pretty famous among most of the managers. You can look at that, and then obviously there is Jackson, who is very getting very popular during the preseason scores that he has done. Obviously the goals and the assists that he has provided, so he's pretty popular. You can look at that option too. But as of now, I think this is a solid draft. I wouldn't say that it's pretty bad. There are some shaky picks, but if I were to rate it out of 10, I would rate it around somewhere at 7.5 or 8. The midfield is pretty solid. The defense is pretty solid. You can play around in obviously goal, in the goalkeepers and obviously in the forwards. But I'd say it is solid 7.5 or 8. If you were to ask me the final one, I'd say it would be 7.5 for me. It would be 8 for some of you, but I'd say it is 7.5 out of 10 for me. I would rate it in that scale. So now we're going to look at the player comparisons first, and I'm going to give shout out to all of you that have asked me the comparison. So let's move on to that segment now. So coming back to the player comparison thing, I have all of your names and the players that you asked in my phone here. I'm going to be looking from that. So first one is FPL London Bad Boys, and he has asked about Gibbs White versus we've got here McNeil. I think it's McNeil. So what I'm going to do is create a comparison of that. Not expecting much wonders because obviously the season hasn't started yet. Where is my keyboard? Here it is. And obviously we're going to put in McNeil first. There's a McNeil inside. And obviously there is Gibbs White. Now let's create a comparison, and we're going to look at the expected points first. But let's just talk about the basics. 6 million Gibbs White, 5.5 million the Evertonian McNeil. And obviously the expected minutes are not too far away. 83 expected minutes McNeil, and then obviously 89 for Gibbs White. Gibbs White expected to play obviously more. But if you look at the expected points in the next game week, I think McNeil is offering more. in the next 3 game weeks, and even in the next 5 game weeks. Obviously, in the broader picture, there isn't much difference. We're going to see the differences when the season starts. But as of now, the algorithm doesn't suggest a big difference. So my choice would be you save that 5.5 million, go with McNeil and invest that somewhere else. Not to confuse you more, so I'm not going to, obviously not to confuse you guys more, I won't get into each and every weeks of expected points. We're going to look at the broader picture just to give you the idea about how things are looking like as of now. So Fulham at home versus Arsenal at away. These are the fixtures. Both of them have 16% scoring chance McNeil, 15% assist chance. So looking at these percentages, obviously I have told you that if I were you, I would have gone for McNeil as of now with 5.5 million, saving that extra 0.5 million and investing that somewhere else in probably in midfield or in defense. So this is McNeil versus Gibbs White. Now looking at the second one, and let's see what we've got. We've got Nilos asking about Eze versus Mitoma. Nilos, my good friend, has asked about Eze versus Mitoma, and that is obviously a very good one and a popular one. So Eze comes in first, and then there is obviously Mitoma. Let's create this comparison, and as you can see, not much of a difference minutes wise. Both of them are placed at same price bracket. But what I would like to highlight here is Mitoma is owned by 37.3% of the manager. So if you are a manager who gets the rank into break into the 100k mark, you get into the 100k mark, and you are battling for your rank there, this EO is going to hurt you if you do not own Mitoma. So if you do not own Mitoma, he scores, this is definitely going to hurt you. So you have to consider this, that he is he is obviously among the most picked assets, and 37.3% is a higher percentage when it comes to the ownership. Now looking at the next few game weeks, the broader picture first, next 5 game weeks, you see that there is not much of a difference in terms of points, 18.1 and 19.5. So obviously it is a gamble, the season hasn't started yet, but the next game week is obviously suggests that Mitoma has the expectancy to score more. The next 3 game weeks isn't a much difference either, but looking at a more in-depth view, scoring percentage, Luton at home, definitely a good fixture, a home fixture, 25% of scoring chance, 11% assist chance, and 34% goal involvement. So if I were to choose between Eze and Mitoma, I would go for Mitoma because the good side of fixtures obviously, and then the EO, which is going to be a killer, which has obviously been a killer. In the previous few seasons too. So you have to consider a lot of factors before moving in for a player. So now one thing I would like to mention here is that Brighton are going to be in Europe, so you're going to see rotations. So if you are looking for a more safer pick, Eze is definitely going to be that. But obviously with the good set of fixtures, Mitoma has then his style of play, he is more of an attacking player than Eze. Obviously Eze will definitely be on the penalties. That is what is being suggested because Zaha is out. I think Olise is leaving now to Chelsea. The summer transfer window hasn't closed yet, but this is what the rumors suggest. So I think Eze would be on the penalties. Mitoma is definitely not on the penalties, but he is obviously one of those players who plays on the wings. He looks more threatening. His EO is more, that I've already mentioned about a lot. And obviously he's the kind of player who looks, that the way he plays looks like that he has a more percentage of scoring than Eze. Now, again, what I would like to highlight here, if I were to choose between one, I would definitely go with Mitoma for the good side of fixtures that he has. Then obviously the next one we're going to talk about is Thames asked me about Bruno versus Reshi. So this one is pretty popular, and I think this one will be pretty close. Despite of the fact Rashford was very, very good last season and Bruno didn't do what was expected of him. But he's the captain now. He's going to be on the penalties. So that is one factor you have to consider among the two. So Rashford at 9 million and Bruno Fernandes at 8.5 million. Rashford is obviously 43% owned. The EO comes back again. 25.3% for Bruno Fernandes. So there are people who might have doubled up on these assets too. So you have to check that out too. Now, looking at the next game week, it is 5.3. Definitely not much of a difference. 5 expected points and 5.3. So not much of a difference. But the broader picture, obviously, there is a slight difference. But I would say that if I were if I were to choose between both of them, Rashford would be my main man. Obviously, Rashford is United's main man. He's definitely not on the penalties. It will be Bruno, but obviously they are not going to get penalties in every game. And we've seen that that scoring job that Rashford did last season. I think the style of play would be the same. They would continue to make Rashford their main man. He's going to be doing the thing that he did last season. Involving in the goals, he's going to get better with his finishing. Obviously, the expected minutes are going to be a little less than Bruno because Rashford is a little bit injury prone. They have Europe too, so you have to consider all of that. But during the start of the season, I'd say I'd be happy with just investing in Rashford. So Thames, I would say that you go for Rashford as of now. If you can double up on both of them, but my choice would obviously be Rashford. I wouldn't go into the goal involvement, but just for the sake of it, see, there wouldn't be much of a difference because you're going to see these differences when the season starts, and the form and every factor would then count in. But as of now, obviously, Rashford being the main man, the main goal scorer, his goal scoring involvement is going to be, the percentage is going to be more than Bruno. Bruno being obviously the midfielder, the cam, he's going to be playing the cam role, so his assist chances are going to be more. So these are obviously just percentages based on probabilities, and I've given my verdict that Rashford would be my guy. I wouldn't go for Bruno because there were some factors that obviously did hurt me last season, and Bruno was one of them. But keeping that aside, just for the sake of for the sake of EO that I've already mentioned thrice, and obviously Rashford, that he is the main man at Man United. He's going to be scoring. He's going to be doing the scoring thing. That is what I expect of him. And Bruno, obviously, he plays more of a midfielder role. So I think Rashford is going to be my pick. Then obviously the other one is FHN FPL, who has asked about Eze versus Mbeumo, and we're going to be talking about that too. And then obviously we've got two more, and then we'll move on to the next segment. I'm going to create the comparison of Eze versus Mbeumo. This is kind of an odd one, but let's just do it. So Eze versus Mbeumo, Eze a midfielder, obviously, then Mbeumo, who's being listed as a midfielder, 6.5 and 6.5, same price bracket. Mbeumo being picked up by 22.8% because obviously what is expected of him is being the main goal scorer when Tony is not available because he's banned. So the next game week, not much of a difference. Next 3 game weeks, not much of a difference, and just 1 point difference, as you can see here. And obviously the next 5 game weeks, not much of a difference. So let's just look at the scoring percentage, 21% versus Spurs because they have got a home fixture, and then assist percentage 15%, 16% scoring and 18% assist percentage, and the goal involvement is 31 and 33. So Eze versus Mbeumo, Eze is definitely a solid pick. Obviously, we've seen that he's performing well at Crystal Palace. Now, there 2 of the main players have left. I think it will all rest on Eze and his brilliance. We've seen him show brilliance in the previous season. And if I were to choose between Eze and Mbeumo, let's just get straight to the point. I would prefer Mbeumo because he plays that striker role. And definitely there is a higher chance of him being, as he's playing up the field, there is still a higher chance of him being involved in goals. Obviously, Eze can do that too. I'm not saying that Eze cannot do that, but that is just what my preference would be. Now, the next one is pretty interesting, and that is obviously from my good friend Gaz. He has asked to compare Saka plus Martinelli and Foden versus Grealish. Now, Saka and Martinelli, what I would say before just jumping onto that, I watched the preseason game today. Trossard was brilliant. Martinelli could have his minutes cut out because of the Trossard's brilliant performance if he starts to perform the way he did today versus Barcelona. So I think you would have to consider that before moving for Martinelli. Now let's do the comparison of Martinelli versus Saka. This is, a no-brainer for me after today's performance. I would definitely choose Saka. He's on the penalties. He is in a good scoring form. He looked brilliant today, and I think that obviously, just like what I've talked about Rashford being the main man for Man United, I think Saka is the main man for Arsenal. Despite of Jesus being their main striker, I think Saka would still be the player that would be among the goals. I expect him to be among more goals than Jesus. Now, looking at obviously the minutes, as you can see, there is a huge difference between the minutes, and the huge difference between the ownership, and just 0.5 million difference between the price. So 5.6 in the next, obviously in the next game week. In next 3, you can see 16.2, and then obviously 26.7, whereas he is still Martinelli is at only 23.8. So Saka definitely a more solid and a more safer pick. The percentages of him being involved in scoring is definitely going to be a little bit higher than Martinelli, and that is just, that reflects how good Saka is, to be honest. Now, the other one was that Gas asked was Foden versus Grealish. Foden is a very popular pick, and now there are rumors of Bernardo Silva leaving. Gundogan has already left. So I think Foden, and Mahrez obviously has left. So I think Foden you guys would see Foden play a little bit more than he usually did. I mean, obviously the players I mentioned, and obviously where Foden plays, there is a difference of position. But obviously with Pep, you never know whatever he does. Now let's just bring Grealish in, because I think both of them play on the same wing, and as you can see, the AI suggests that the left winger Foden 70 minutes and Grealish 64 minutes. Obviously, both of them are left wingers. And Mahrez, who left, was a right winger. And then obviously Bernardo Silva has played the false right winger role a lot. He sometimes plays on the right wing. So we've seen obviously Pep experiment a lot, and he sometimes just plays a player out of position. But now we're going to be talking about the left wing position. Particularly here, there is the competition between Foden and Grealish. 13.6% by the managers have picked up Foden. He's offered at 7.5 million, and same would go for Grealish. He's just been picked up by 7.7% of the managers, and that is obviously, as you can see, there is a 6-minute difference in the expected minutes. And when you look at the expected points, Grealish is definitely a lot higher, and this is what the AI suggests. You can look at your screens the next game week, the next 3 game weeks, and the next 5 game weeks. This is what the AI suggests, despite of the fact that Foden is much more popular in the FPL community, and he looks to be a solid pick. A lot of managers suggest that he is going to start. Obviously, nobody knows what is going inside Pep's head, but this is obviously what is being rumored. And looking at the next game week, the chances of Grealish being involved in the scoring factor is obviously pretty high. The only thing I can see higher here is the chance of Foden getting a yellow card. So that was just for the purpose of a joke. But you can see what the AI suggests here. 33% scoring chance. For Grealish, the assist chance is obviously there is a little bit higher, and no, that is not obviously a little bit, that is a much more higher, and the goal involvement is at 55%. So the AI suggests that Grealish is a much better pick than Foden. So that was a nice one, guess. I would say that my mind is a little bit confused too, but this is what the AI suggests. And now let's move on to the other one. What do we have? So this was the last one. Now we're going to move on to the next segment. We're going to identify 2 or 3 players who are being offered at 5.5 million or 5 million. FPL Dale and Max asked me to highlight these players, and I'm going to shed light onto my picks, who would be my picks at this price bracket. So we're going to move on to that segment. So yeah, let's move there and talk about these picks. So we're going to be using the player ranking feature, and as you can see, at 5 and 5.5 million is the price bracket that I've selected, and there is one more filter, and that is the midfielder position. So first one is obviously McNeil, who is looking like a safe pick, and we're going to look at the profile of him, the next fixtures. As you can see, obviously at 5.5 million you cannot expect them to score bangers each week, but obviously a bench option could come in when you need him. He's going to be a starter, and you're getting 82.6 minutes, expected minutes out of him. So you can play. He's already been selected by 0.8% of the managers too. So you can place him on bench at 5.5 million and play him in games like Fulham or probably Wolves, Sheffield United, Luton. So these are the kind of games where you can give him, you can use him as an option in your team when you do not have players who have easy fixtures. So I think McNeil could be a very good option. And obviously, you might see him score in some of these games too. At 5.5 million, I would suggest McNeil, a good option. The other one is obviously my favorite that is in my team, a big differential that I have picked up. And it is Enciso, who plays that striker. Obviously, he plays that second striker role. He plays up ahead and obviously picked up by 10.7% of the managers, placed at 5.5 million. His expected minutes are very less, but keep in mind that there will be rotations due to the De Zerbi side being in Europe. Now the expected, I wouldn't go into the expected points because we know that these mid players are offered at a very lower price. Their expected minutes are not too good. So these factors conclude, obviously these factors combine to conclude that their expected points before the start of the season are not going to be reflected what we were going to see when the season starts. So 2.9 in the next one, 8.4 in the next 3, and 13.6. So if he is obviously definitely not going to be a starter, but I would be using him as a bench option at 5.5 million, and hopefully when he starts in the games in good fixtures like I've talked about previously, Luton versus Luton versus Wolves versus Bournemouth. These good fixtures, I think I could benefit from the double up that I have in my team of Enciso and obviously Mitoma. And the third one would be, you can look at Enzo too, but he's definitely not a very good option. He's not a proper chem kind of player. He does that box to box kind of thing too. He likes to stay a little bit back. He likes to play the forward role too sometimes, but obviously the attacking returns are not guaranteed. With Enciso, you can expect attacking returns, but with Enzo, you cannot do that because the player profiles in game are definitely a lot different. Now, there is obviously the option of Andreas. I might have missed him up there somewhere. Here is Andreas. And then obviously with Mitrovic leaving, a lot of managers are expecting Andreas to be on the penalties. I'm not sure who's going to be on penalties from Fulham, but he was definitely on the set pieces, and you're getting a starter at 5.5 million. His expected minutes have declined due to obviously he got injured in the previous season, and then his expected minutes got a little bit less. But before that, he was a starter. The two fixtures at start are pretty exciting. Then obviously in patches you're going to see some of the good fixtures, but I think he could still be a bench option. But if you would ask me, I would prefer Enciso straight away. But the most safer pick as of now is looking as McNeil, in form of McNeil. And then let's see what we've got at 5 million. Not much options at 5 million. Obviously I've talked about Enzo. There aren't many options at 5 million. Harrison Reed could be another one if you're looking at someone from Fulham. He was among goals in the previous few seasons. In the previous season, not few seasons. The previous season he was among goals. I know a couple of managers who went for this move using him as a bench option, and it turned out pretty nice. Henderson obviously has left. He's no more an option. Douglas Lewis at 5.5 million could be another of those picks who could, either turn out to be a big differential or could turn out to be a similar pick like Bailey. But if you would ask me to rank players, the one that I've shed light on, I'd say McNeil. Then I'd say you go for either Andreas or Enciso. And the third one would obviously be Enzo for me, and then obviously Reed and all of them come in a lot later because none of these picks are gonna be the safe options that we talked about. So yeah, this is it. I think this is the list. The other ones are either defensive mids or not very safe options. Rodrigo did score a goal for Man City, but obviously we know that he is not the kind of player that plays that forward midfielder role. He is more of the holding or the player that plays in pivot with John Stones. So this is where I would like to conclude my video. These were some of the options that I wanted to try out with all of you. Hopefully what I talked about and hopefully the things that I highlighted would be helpful for you. Let me know in the comments below what more do you want with these preseason videos. I'm going to try my best to deliver that. And yeah, do subscribe and do share and like the video. So this is it from my side. Hopefully I'd be back very soon with another of the updated drafts or probably the final team. We never know for game week 1. So yeah, see you all very soon and take care.